All right, so we're joined now by Mr. Wes Parham, the man, the legend from Xcel Energy. Welcome.
Definitely, man. Maybe not a legend. I appreciate that, Micah. Glad to join you.
Yeah, thanks for being here. So tell us what your role is with Xcel.
Wes Parham, Director of Regional Government Affairs for Xcel Energy. Been with the company about 5 or 6 years now.
Okay.
Actually, maybe coming up on 7 years now that I think about that. Of course, Xcel Energy, though, I like to remind folks that I still proudly report to Public Service Company of Colorado. So I have that going for me. And of course, BSCO has roots going back a long way here serving the state, about 100 years.
Wow.
Today serving, well over 150 communities, infrastructure in 59 of Colorado's 64 counties. Serves about 1.5 million electric customers, pretty close to that on the gas side, 1.4 million customers. An economic development driver. We've got about 3,800 employees that live and work in our communities across the state. And in addition to that, spender in local economies. $1.3 billion annually in local supply chain spending, investments in our communities, and the state's largest property taxpayer as well.
Oh, really?
So,
that's
a lot going on there.
Yeah, that's quite a designation. I guess, and I'm probably like the majority of people, I didn't realize how big of an economic impact you guys really have as far as how much you put back into the communities.
Sure, yeah, and a lot. Of course, there's the infrastructure side, but a big part of our investment is on the community relationship side.
Right.
And certainly, I mentioned the breadth of counties that we're in. We have folks that live and work in those regions too.
Yeah.
So we want to make sure that we're good partners on all of the things that we're working on, good neighbors, and that we're not only engaged with, but we're a part of those communities. It's a big part of our culture. And
you spoke yesterday here at our Voices of Rural Colorado conference about a lot of the change you guys are looking at as far as how you're shifting to meet like environmental demands. But you guys are even projecting ahead a lot of what legislation has asked you to do.
Sure. Appreciate that. Yeah. So a leader on renewable energy. Xcel Energy has been the country's leading utility provider of clean energy for the vast majority of the last 15 years. And as we discussed yesterday, was the first major utility in the country to commit to a goal of zero carbon power generation by 2050. And the interim goal is to achieve an 80% reduction by 2030. But as we discussed yesterday, Xcel Energy is going to push on that.
Yeah.
And we have a plan in front of regulators now to capture 87% by the end of this decade. So we're getting on out there a ways.
Yeah.
And beyond that, we're talking new technologies. And so we need to approach that eyes wide open. So it's definitely a company priority. It's something that our customers and our communities increasingly expect. Certainly our policymakers are there. But it's something that, is a growing expectation, too, for our investors and things that are happening within markets and the broader economy. And we just need to make sure that we do this right. And so that's part of being proactive and partnering with folks in rural Colorado to help facilitate that.
Yeah, we can all definitely appreciate the impact it makes just to show up in some of those places and be seen out there in those communities. What are some of those new technologies that you guys are working with that we should know about and be excited about?
Let's anything and everything that doesn't emit carbon into the atmosphere, I think, should be on the table. So we're looking at various forms of energy storage. Getting into kind of long-term storage. You can be more flexible. And provides a lot of different various supports on the grid. Kind of give us some flexibility, reliability, those kind of things. And then even getting into the natural gas space, hydrogen, biofuels. There's a lot of stuff happening there.
I think there's a lot of, I don't want to say ignorance. Let's say, misinformation. People say, we look at renewable energy, we see windmills, we see solar farms, and I think the quick question is, why aren't we already exclusively doing those?
Well, to put it on the nose, the wind doesn't always blow.
That's fair.
And the sun doesn't always shine. So it's not that we're battling this 100% wind and solar vision. It's just a matter of physics. And so we're moving into a phase here in the next decade or so where we're really focused on that dispatchable generation. So wind and solar will make up a vast majority of our system by 2030, about 80% renewable energy. How do we close the gap to zero carbon? It's going to be dependent on dispatchable technologies that we can rely on affordably to help close that gap when the wind isn't blowing and the sun isn't shining.
That's probably a big piece of it that's underappreciated is that affordability. I mean, just where the technology's at right now, transmitting it, storing it from those renewable sources is probably not the most cost effective at the moment, right? So I'm really wondering about when we talk about the affordability of it. Obviously, there's a lot of technology that's got to be built out for the storage, the transmission, and that stuff.
Affordability is critical.
Yeah.
Affordability has to be critical, and that's part of the vision. So alongside the environmental leadership, today, Xcel is proud to boast both a 99.9% electric reliability and average bills at home 30 to 35% below the national average.
Yeah.
If we can keep maintaining clean energy, reliable, and affordable, we've got a really good story to tell there.
I mean, so Xcel, obviously, like I said, they're a leader in just the distribution, all the technology, leading the way in the environmentally sustainable aspects of it. Why has the rural parts of Colorado been such an important focus for you guys?
It's a fantastic question, and the partnership with rural Colorado is critical.
Yeah,
it's absolutely critical because it's facilitating much of the renewable energy development. I think I saw, Micah, a study that was released by Action 22 and Pro 15 earlier this summer.
Yeah.
This last summer. We're at the turn of the year here. That estimated that on the Eastern Plains alone, over the last several decades, renewable energy accounted for over $10 billion of new investment in that region. And that's all renewable energy projects, not just Xcel Energies. But that's a significant driver of local property taxes. To help fund schools and libraries and roads and bridges, police, fire stations, those kind of things, critical services to the community, but also a benefit to a lot of those landowners and has implications there too. But it's important that we're good stewards of those projects and good neighbors, because we're here for the long haul and we want to be a partner in those areas. And so it's something that we work really hard on the front end of those projects to make sure that we're approaching them responsibly.
And I think, there's an appreciable benefit and value to going to renewable energy, like you said, just the sheer investment that goes into that to these rural communities. What about? I know there's a concern with the job loss from the coal plants, the coal generators. How are you guys addressing that?
I'll put this one on the nose too.
Yeah,
coal plant closures are really hard.
Sure,
they're hard for me personally. They're hard for our team. They're hard for our folks that live and work in those regions. These are our communities, and the folks that work in these facilities are my colleagues too at the end of the day. And so, I'm fortunate though that we work for a company that is willing to sit down and be very transparent on the front end. Once we know that an accelerated closure is
it's happening
in the equation.
We
want to sit down with community leaders. We want to sit down with workforce and be just very transparent on what these transition windows look like. Make sure it's something that's not going to happen overnight and there's no surprises. We want to work with community leaders and industry and others in our industry to identify areas where we can replace generation where it makes sense. That's new capital investment in those regions to help mitigate and offset property tax revenue and workforce opportunities. We want to work with large employers in those regions to identify projects to help them do the same and to drive economic development and maintain economic development and activity in those regions, but also recognizing, Micah, that not every one community looks the same.
Wonderful.
So up in northwest Colorado, for instance, up in Routt County near Hayden Station, the wind and solar high concentrations like you see out on the Eastern Plains, maybe they don't make sense on our systems up there, but we're working with community leaders to evaluate a redevelopment plan to explore some of the newer technologies that both help Xcel Energy and the state achieve its carbon reduction goals, but that provide long-term sustainable investment in those communities and workforce development opportunities. That's collaboration that you don't get unless you're willing to sit down and be very transparent with those community leaders and partner on what comes next.
Yeah, and you see that with some of the partners that we have with Action 22, you see how far that transparency goes, how far that communication piece goes, how far it goes to be out and just be present in those communities.
Absolutely.
I'm interested in that workforce development piece too, because I'm sure a lot of those a lot of those skill sets are probably transferable regardless of the type of power you're generating.
It is, and
or easy to translate it to a new.
Sure.
base?
It depends on the type of facility, right? And that all comes into consideration. One of the projects that we're evaluating up in Routt County, and again, it's still in the evaluation stage, is a biomass facility, for instance, where you can burn trees to generate electricity from an environmental standpoint.
Yeah.
Rotting trees in the forest.
So that probably leads to a lot of fire.
Methane, right.
That probably leads to a lot of fire mitigation benefits as well.
Exactly. So there's the methane that's coming from the rotting wood, but wildfires are always a risk in Colorado, and so there's some opportunities there where we can partner to help mitigate risk in some of those areas and generate electricity in a carbon net neutral way.
Yeah.
But also provide some of those transferable skills for my colleagues that are working in the coal facility up there now. And again, those are all in evaluation stages now, but it's things that we think about on a nearly daily basis as we develop this project.
I'm going to ask you about what you're most excited about next, but I love talking to businesses. I love talking to people who like to think outside the box and find creative solutions.
Yeah.
Because that's really where we're at. A lot of the stuff, some of the old stuff works, a lot of it doesn't, and a lot of these changes are going so much faster than we're able to keep up with and pivot on. So like I was saying, as far as this coming year, what we're looking forward to, what's something that you're excited about maybe personally, and what the Xcel's working on that we can help you with and be excited about with you?
Yeah, it's a fantastic question. I'll pivot on something that you just mentioned there, the pace of the industry. I think, I'm not sure this is an exaggeration. I think it's changed more in the last decade than maybe the century leading up to it, and it's all driven by technology. And innovation is driving technology. We see that on the power generation side. And so then you ask what I'm excited about and what comes next. Innovation is also driving things on the natural gas side of our business.
Okay.
Of course, Xcel Energy serves end-use gas service to our customers. And a common topic that's talked about right now is this nexus between electrification and natural gas in homes and businesses. And I think a question was asked yesterday on that topic. And we surveyed our customers on this topic, and a vast majority of them, not even a vast majority, it's cut and dry. They want clean energy.
Sure. Yeah.
They want clean energy.
We can put a blanket on that.
We've checked it. Yeah, of course. They want clean energy. But they also, they like cooking with their gas range stoves.
Yeah.
They like their gas fireplaces.
Right.
They recognize that gas-fired furnaces heat their homes in the wintertime, and they don't want to pay more to swap out all of their electric appliances. And you could probably put me in that category. My situation
I'd
at
be there
home.
too.
And so Xcel Energy has a leading vision on the natural gas side to reduce greenhouse gas emissions associated with natural gas delivery to homes and businesses. And as we talked about yesterday, that starts by sending signals to those upstream producers that we purchase from to secure cleaner natural gas on the front end. And so by 2030, Xcel Energy has committed to purchasing only certified natural gas, which is verifiably cleaner natural gas.
Yeah, before you even start processing it, sending it.
That's right. So then when it comes into our system, the distribution system, we know that we have a clean product, but we also need to make sure that we have modern pipelines, and we're taking care of business on our system to reduce the risk of methane leaks there, which today is very, very small. I think less than 1% of the total. And in the home, helping our customers simply be more efficient with their energy usage, looking at electrification of appliances in areas where it does reduce emissions, and it's cost-effective for that customer and cost-effective for other customers too. And here's the exciting piece too, right? Looking at other forms of technologies that are happening in this space. I mentioned hydrogen earlier. Hydrogen blends. It's a very flexible fuel that you can do a lot of things with. Biofuels, green methane, renewable gas, and all of that has partnership development opportunities in rural Colorado too. So I'm really excited to see where that's going to be heading here over the next several decades.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Wes, for being with us.
Thanks, Mike.
I think we could go on about this for quite a while. Pretty cool stuff.
Down the street, let me know.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
All right, thanks.